Right at it. Right at it. Oh,
Jordan
he's
Spieth.
done it again. Just as he did at the John Deere for his first win.
Hello, everyone. It is episode 146 of the Go Get That podcast, and we are back with a recap of the Valspar Championship. A little late. No apologies. Life happens, but just didn't work till today, so we'll get this out as soon as we can. We're recording this midday for me, evening for the East Coasters. It's getting the evening here, but thankfully, the sundown is getting later and later by the day, but we do have a tournament to recap. I think it was a step in the right direction. Didn't watch much this week. Had a golf tournament myself, as well as a midterm project due Friday, so I didn't watch much Thursday either. And, I think that I'm not usually a stats person. I hate looking at stats, but I didn't watch enough to give the Bob Blute eye test stats. So I will pull up Data Golf here.
Strokes gained eye test.
Yes. Strokes gained eye test. It's arguably the best model out there, but regardless, Spieth finished what did he finish for the week?
2 under.
2 under, T28.
2 under. 1 over on.
Not a green box.
One over on the final day. And, could have been worse. Finish-wise. What did the winner win at?
11. 9 back.
I mean,
Same amount of birdies and eagles as the winner.
Oh, chills.
that's fantastic.
Classic. It is fantastic.
How's your
It was nice to gain strokes putting. That's
It was
always
a minimal
nice.
game, wasn't it?
It was, but green is green.
It is green.
Green is green. 0.06 in the green is better than 0.06 in the red. But the number that matters is that almost 2 shots gained, ball striking approach, and that's what we were worried about. That's where we thought that Spieth really could have shown irons this week that completely took him out of Augusta contention, truly. And he didn't do that, which was nice because approach has been poor, approach has been sad. It's looked pathetic, and this week it found some thrust, and the driver's got to be better, but I'm not worried about the driver yet. The short game, without looking at the stats, actually I'm going to look at the stats.
Stats will probably say what you're going to say.
Yeah,
Stats
back it up pretty well this week.
It's not horrible, but Spieth cannot win with the short game he has right now. The way Spieth needs to win is he needs to steal shots around the greens. And he's still got that magic touch. He's still phenomenal out of the bunkers. He's still great at getting out of crazy situations, but the straightforward chips just aren't good enough right now. And I'm going to give him more time on that than I will the other parts of his game because that is feel, and the wrist did. I mean, he went who knows how long without with chipping, gaining bad habits over the last few years. So I'll give him time to get that back, but regardless, he's going to have to pull something out of his behind around the greens at Augusta if he wants to win, because he's going to have to gain a few shots to the field around the greens if he's going to win there, and then he's got to make putts. So that's my biggest concern still in terms of winning is the short game, because it just has to be that much better than the field, and that's where I'll leave that.
Yeah, it was an interesting week. I think Thursday started off pretty slow. It was a 74 to open up, and we're like, okay, this could be a missed cut. We can week off this week and then no 2 weekend rounds and the approach play hasn't been great. And you're just kind of wondering, like, where are we now? Like, with those last 5 holes on Thursday, he missed 4 putts inside of 8 feet, but something seems to start clicking with the approach play. Um, I think there were 3 or 4 putts for birdie inside of kind of that 10, 12 foot range down the stretch there. Of course, he missed all of them. The putting inside of 6 to 8 feet this week was it's hard to find a word to describe how bad it was, I guess. There were a
Feeble.
lot of yes, there were a lot of opportunities left to move up the L board this week, but in the same sense, I mean, you take out the first, what would that have been, 14 holes Thursday, and you look at the final 58 holes, and even Sunday, which the score was um not reflective of how the round I think went Sunday. Uh my God, he
Yeah.
played some good golf, man. Like flushing the golf ball with the approach play. By far and away the best in the field Friday, Saturday, on approach. 36 holes of, I think he said it in his post round. He's like, yeah, I should have been 13 under over those 2 days, and he got six, I think. Um, and that's kind of sums it up. I think the short game, as Bob mentioned, needs to be sharpened up a little bit. I'm not too concerned about that. I think that can be definitely needs to be mechanically and kind of result wise tightened up, but I think he's done a decent job of fixing that over the past few years in terms of week to week. Like if that becomes an issue, he gets it sort of straightened away pretty quickly. But I almost left this week feeling better than I did after the Cognizant, even though the result was 20 spot worse. It was like it was the worst result he could have had this week was T28. Um, and you
Okay.
can look at that two
Yeah.
ways. You can say it was, man, he under resulted his performance, or you can say, well, he actually got it. That's just where he's at because the golf is a complete game and you need to put it all together and you need to get a result. And which is why I tweeted, and we'll get into Valero in a few days here, but like that's a big week to put it all together. But this was I mean, it put kind of elite goals of the season back on the map. And I know that's crazy talk, but this was the best approach we've seen since Phoenix. And it's not even,
It was
and
better, I think.
yeah, best approach of the season. And it just feels good after 4 weeks of 3 or 4 tournaments of pretty meh in that category. So it was a
Absolutely.
great kind of bounce back and good fight after the Thursday as well to kind of get it back and get it in gear in the weekend on Friday, Saturday into the weekend as well.
Yeah. No, well said. I don't want to use the word good week because it's still a T28, but definitely
Yes.
productive.
You
Definitely.
this cannot be categorized as a good
Yeah.
week. It can be
No, I
categorized as a step in the right direction, but
yeah, I think good, great, poor are all words that are around the finish, but definitely productive. Um, I feel good. I feel like he found something Thursday, kind of as Dan said, and it's a good like his floor with like, and I don't expect him to approach the approach play to be this good every week, but like he didn't drive it well this week for his standard either, and he still turned out a T28. Like the driver, the short game, the putter, they were all like average. So this is a good baseline week, and then obviously as we head into Valero, putting it together, and I mean his floor is going to be really high if he can, have some good approach play on a consistent basis with the way he drives it. And that's something to be excited about. And I think, talking about the short game, I think I kind of make all three of us in agreement. I'm not really concerned. It's funny, I was looking at the numbers on the short game either yesterday or a couple days ago, and it's like it's bad because the wrist got him off, and his entry point going into the ball, whether it was being a bunker or rough, was just not as good. The short game was it was status quo in 2023, obviously drop off last year. That's kind of leaked into this year a little bit, and it's an easier fix for him than it is obviously the putter, which has been mediocre for 5 years. and the ball striking, that at least the approach play, it's been bad for, a while as well. I expect him to get it cleaned up, and then obviously Bob, getting into Augusta,
Yeah.
we know he's going to work his rear end off there once he gets on property because he knows how important the short game is there. I mean, he's going to get the work on it, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
something that
you're
I
right.
think will be a
You're
quicker
completely
fix.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're completely right. I agree. When I said that the short game was the most alarming thing for me, that's very much a short-term statement. Right now, my mindset is completely how do we win the Masters? And for me, the short game is the thing that's currently what he can't win with. Obviously, he has to make putts, but sometimes putting is just who can get hot at the right time. Um, I think there's a better chance he wins the Masters with 0.00 strokes gained approach than there is with 0.00 around the greens. If he hits his iron normal relative to the field, I think he can still win with Jordan Spieth's short game. And obviously, he has to make putts, but that's
that's
a
a story
given.
in
So,
itself. Yeah.
in the short term, yes. In terms of the long term, um, it's probably still the putter for me. Putter's still in a recession. Um,
which is fascinating because I mean to cut you off, but he's still gained this week, and you need more than two hands to count how many putts he missed inside of 8 feet. Like normally that's a disastrous week with the putter,
yeah.
and that's why I think there's
Did he
Jordan
make
text.
any crazy long bombs? Yeah,
He
he
was
did.
probably
Right?
number one in the field this week outside 20 feet and dead
Yeah,
last inside 10 feet.
it's something like that. Jordan sent me a beautiful little snippet of his
Oh yeah,
data
he made that
golf
eagle putt
line.
on one. I watched that.
And it
What
was
did I say?
like you sent a little data golf snip,
Oh, yeah,
and it
yeah,
was like he putted even for the 18 or whatever, but it was like he giveth and he taketh, and it
yeah.
was
Yeah.
like there's like minus 1.1 with a three jack, and then there's plus 1.2 with a 40 footer on 17, and you're just like, I guess in the end of the day, it all evens out. It's great that they're going in from 25 feet because if the short game's not going to steal shots, something's got to. And if the putter is always the greatest equalizer because you get chances to use it on every hole. Um, I actually the stuff inside of 5 feet, I'm obviously concerned about, but the way he talked about it, I kind of agree that I think some of them were decent rolls and he just misread them. And you talk about it as like I'm trying to kind of decipher or ponder about if that's almost worse. It's like, how are you misreading 5 footers? But sometimes that's just kind of how the week goes. And I think more of my big takeaway this week is that like this has to be a kickstart, right? We've been doing this whole
Yeah.
good week, bad week, and you could chalk the first week up to just coming back, and then the next two bad weeks you can chalk to um course fit. And I guess, however you want to categorize this past week. Um, but it certainly wasn't a bad week by any means. I'd say I think productive is the right word. Like there was
Yeah.
a sign of life. But now it needs to be
I mean,
let's kick on from this a little bit
I
and keep it moving.
I think that we're maybe not quite there, but if you just chalk Phoenix up to a pop week with the putter, which is a problem in itself, don't get me wrong. But if you just want to chalk that up to a pop week to putter, we're almost right back to where we were at Phoenix. Obviously, we wanted to build off Phoenix, but we didn't. And now this has to be up from here,
Right.
right? Like he said he was ahead of his comeback at Phoenix, so there's that. And now we kind of stalled out over a few weeks, but the irons really showed something this week, which they haven't because they've been poor. So um, hit the ball like that and could be in really good shape if he builds off this week. And I completely agree, Dan. I think that's probably the key takeaway from this tournament.
Yeah, it's got to be a jump start. I mean, and we could, Jordan and I talk sometimes about how like progress isn't linear. And I think about this in my own
Yeah.
day-to-day life as well as like, I've started a new job. I mean, it's been a few months now, right? But they talk about getting a little bit better each and every day. And realistically, that just doesn't quite happen. Some days you're going to get a little bit better. Some days you're going to get 3% better. And then some days you're just going to have some brutal days. But that's going to kind of add up and allow you to build toward that 1% better, 2% better, 3% better day. And I think in the path of returning to good, consistent golf, we went through a blip. And that is what it is. And that blip included a T9, which is great. And now it feels like, okay, we're starting to build. And just kind of to wrap the point up, it's like he's not going back to Torrey the next time he plays. He's going back to a place he won. And so if it doesn't go well there, I think we kind of just go back to well, where are we really? But I think if a result can be produced at the Oaks course, the famed Oaks course, then we can start to kind of believe in it a little bit more and really embrace the opportunity that lies ahead at Augusta 10 years on from the original thrust that
Well said.
was. But
Yeah, it was an original thrust. It's next week. We'll obviously get more into it in the preview episode, but it's just like the approach play, man. You got to keep on keeping on. Because he had Phoenix and then he went into the toilet the next time he teed it up with the approach play. I just, the approach, it needs to, if you're going to I expect him to get worse because he was just so good. But it's like you shouldn't go from gaining a shot in the eighth round to going into losing shots. It's like that's what I want to
Great.
stay. That's the most important stat in golf. That's why Scotty Scheffler's won, what is it, 8 times in the last 360. Like it's the approach play. He's green every single week. And it's exciting because he should drive it better. I mean, he drove it the worst he did all year, I believe, at the Valspar. Um, it's just that needs to stay consistent. It's like we talk about
I
like
mean,
putting the pieces of the puzzle together. It's like you got to know where some of the pieces are and you expect them to be consistent and build on what you're, still working on.
you can win tournaments around field average, but you can't win tournaments losing a shot to the field approach. You can lose a shot to the field everywhere else. I didn't think putting existed that way, but then he won the RBC like he did.
That doesn't
But
happen often.
it doesn't happen often. I'd say putting's probably second in terms of winning, but you can spray it all over the place and rebound well, get some lucky breaks like Scheffler does, and and be okay with a bad driver. Or you really shouldn't be losing strokes around the green and winning, but you can. But you can't lose a shot approach and expect to be in contention. You just can't do it. Um, so the approach is probably the number one focus next week for me. It has to be just as good next week. The short game can take care of itself at Augusta. I am sure he will get his ass working. So, I'm not worried about that next week as much, but the approach has got to gain a shot at Valero. It's got to gain a shot for the week. If it doesn't gain a shot for the week,
Really
big
good.
trouble.
yeah,
What?
that would be good. I mean, to Bob's point though, like it
For the
needs to
week, gain
be,
0.25 a day.
Oh,
it needs,
yeah,
oh,
okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
He gained
Yeah, that's
1.94 this week.
a day.
that's per round.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was that
those are
good,
his,
Bob. He was
those are his averages. He gained over 3 both Friday and Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
he was third in the field in approach.
So
Xander gained.
to your point, I think
Okay. All right. So he's got to gain
Bob's raising the bar here.
Yeah.
I am. I am.
No, I was
I
gonna say, I
am.
think it just needs to be
It's completely
complimentary.
fair.
It's fair.
It's completely fair.
Yeah,
It
I don't.
it cannot be a complete regression. It's got to be 2 strokes gained for the week
That's a good
minimum.
number.
I agree. I think that's a good
Minimum.
minimum because you can have. I mean, sometimes you just get boned, right? Like I think the driving this week, there is a kind of a concern creeping up on me that there's a pretty like foul ball in there still. I mean, that the drive on 16 on
Yeah.
Sunday is remembered, but that one wasn't even the one I have too much concern with. It was
Love
just
it.
that he just left the face open or was late. The one that's concerning is the one on 11 on Sunday. That's 50 yards right of the fairway. And I understand that plays in some places, but you think about the 2021 Masters, where obviously you
Oh
didn't make a
boy.
putt,
I know where we're going
but
here.
the tee ball on 9 on Thursday that led to a triple, which he then bailed himself out of with that eagle on 15 with that chip that should have gone in the water.
Never even
But
should have been a triple there.
well, yeah, he three jacked from 6 feet. But the whole point is like he put himself in too much trouble from the get-go. And I think some of the par five play this week wasn't as sharp
Sure.
as it has been because he was struggling a bit off the tee. Um, and it's not I don't think concern is the right word. And I love to use that word on this podcast because I mean, there's so many concerns sometimes just watching him play in terms of how does he find peak form. Uh, but the wayward miss, it's just not quite as sharp as it needs to be, and that's been a pretty consistent theme. And I'm not sure that it's gonna be where it needs to be. And so then to Bob's point, it's got to be you gotta make one or two from off the greens, and you gotta make some putts, which he's doing. He's actually like he's pretty darn good from 20 plus feet this year. Um, it's just the little shorties are causing some issues. So I think the Dan eye test really liked this past week. I'll put it that way. And to be fair, I
Great to hear.
couldn't watch much of Thursday, but I was able to watch a good chunk of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so if that makes you feel any better, Bob,
It does. Because Dan's a very intelligent human being. So
well, I mean, sure, but it just looks like I mean, you could easily count 5 shots where he was better this week. And what does that give him? A T8, T6? Like, I
He made
think it
enough birdies and
was,
eagles.
yeah, it was plenty of good. And I don't think it's that far away from being that many squares or a lot fewer squares. Because he's shown this year that he can play without the squares. Think of Phoenix. I know we keep going back to Phoenix, but um, I am glad that he's got one more opportunity at Valero to kind of see where we're at going into Augusta.
Had a great venue.
But yeah, at the Oaks course, legendary venue. Obviously, it gets overshadowed by Ranch. If you think of
Great courses down there in Texas.
elite Texas golf courses,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
let
I'm not
me
too high
phrase
on the golf course personally, but
the Oaks course.
not a huge fan.
It's
It's
mediocre.
iconic.
Yes, you get Doug Smith Louisville out there, and it instantly goes up a ranking on my
That's completely fair.
board. We'll see if he's there, but I have a theory, or not a theory. I just curious your guys' thoughts on this. Um, it seems like, and maybe part of it's just this game is hard, but it seems like when the driver's at its best, the approach play is maybe lacking a little uh performance, so to speak. It's not as sharp. The numbers are not close to as good. But then when the approach play is at its best, the driver is just a little bit looser. I'm curious because I mean, Jordan, I know you watch a lot as well.
We talked about
Not
this.
that
Yeah.
Bob doesn't watch, but you play more competitively than both we do, than both Jordan and I do. Do you feel like when your driver's on, your irons are maybe slightly less like firing on all cylinders? Like, there's a maybe a swing thought or a swing feel
In
or
a
a slight
way,
difference that
with the way I hit my driver right now, it's actually very similar swing to my irons. I try and keep it on a very even. I try and strike it very level, whereas these pros, just because I struggle with accuracy a lot hitting up on the ball, these pros are all hitting up on their driver. So it's two completely different swings.
yeah,
Like your irons and your driver are two completely different swings.
yeah.
And I feel like when the closest thing to my driver is probably my 3 iron in terms of swing, in terms of where I strike it. And I feel like those are interchangeable as to whether they're doing well or not. So it might just be, I think it's completely reasonable to say that Spieth struggles to find two different ways to separate the swings when you're swinging up on the ball and when you're swinging down on the ball. And because you notice that in Phoenix, the long irons were fantastic the first 3 days, as well as the driver. Obviously, on Sunday the driver wasn't great. Approach play was also the long iron game was also not as good. He hit that nice one to 15, but um, that might be it. That might be it. I think that when interesting, it's very interesting. It makes complete sense as someone who plays golf. Complete sense. Um, I'm very interested to see what his long iron approaches are, like his strokes gained approach with long irons are next time he hits his driver well. I'm very interested to see that.
I think just generally, I agree with your sentiment there. But I think just generally, it's not, there's some sort of like thought or feel that's just not like quite synced when it crosses over from the long iron
Yeah,
top
it
end of that
completely.
bag into the driver. And I think you and Jordan and I we discuss everything, but
We chat a
there's
lot
the
off camera.
there's this idea that I mean there's a pretty to us there's a pretty clear which one you'd rather have is the iron play. You'd much rather have be sharper and you can live with the driver being a little bit looser. And I hope that we
I mean,
see that.
he's won before hitting some absolutely
Yeah, I mean,
hilarious
My gosh, he drove it
rounds
the
off the
best he
tee.
ever has last year, arguably, and I mean, he couldn't hit an approach shot to save his life, and it was brutal on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, he hit his driver tops whatever on tour last year and didn't come close to a win.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there you go.
it's interesting, Dan. I think that something I've paid attention to a lot in recent weeks is how at least until this week, the wedges have been great.
Yeah, they've been solid.
Like 100 yards, like 100-yard wedges. Like those, even when the long irons and the 7, 8, 9 irons lose them, even the 130, 40-yard shots. I think he's hit his 100-yard shots really well, which is really weird because um I I think that's something to look at maybe at Phoenix. I don't know what his numbers were inside 100 yards at Phoenix. You don't really have inside 100 yards at Phoenix much,
He's been
I
very
guess.
good inside 50 to 100 this year.
Yeah. So that's a weird addition to your point, just because that's also a completely different swing. But I don't really know whether I'd consider it more like a driver feel or an iron feel because
Yeah.
you're taking it back so much differently.
To me, the wedges that's probably the most tangible sign that the wrist feels better.
Yeah, I agree with that
I think
completely.
that to me is yeah, the wedges are better because you're gonna take more turf and there's just this he doesn't quite have a thought about the wrist, which also and I said this at like one of the intro podcasts, so this is kind of a side tangent here. But like we made it out of this 2 week stretch. I guess it wasn't great at the end at Sawgrass, but I didn't hear anything about any wrist or you know
It's an
anything
afterthought right now.
go poorly at Valspar, and that's huge. Like I know that that's not what we want to be thinking about, but if that just doesn't go well, none of it goes well. And so it was nice to hear him say it's going well and have a week where I don't think we saw any discomfort. I didn't notice anything.
Absolutely.
Jordan, did you have any, or Bob, I guess any people
Um,
that noticed?
no, and I hate to backtrack, but
Besides Slinkard in chat.
just going back to Players Week though, it was cold one of the I think the morning round he played. He didn't have that heater out. I mean, we haven't
Yeah.
seen that heater since Torrey Pines. So
Well, and it wasn't super warm at Valspar Friday morning either,
no,
and he
he
was
had a
cooking.
layer on. Yeah.
So I like it really. The more I think about it, the more I like the word productive. Like it was a
Yeah.
productive week. There was improvement. There was uh in the areas that are really important, but then also mentally, like and for him, but also like as a fan, I feel just a lot better about the track that we're on. And it kind of reignited the potential for next week, a few weeks.
2 weeks.
And yeah, I mean it was solid, man. Seeing him hit every playing with JT on Saturday was one of the funnest PGA Tour live rounds I've watched in a while. I mean, JT played awesome on the back nine, but those dudes were it was just really good scoring. Um,
Congrats
of
to
course,
JT, by the way. Forgot to mention, turned it off after the 16th hole, so congratulations
yeah,
to him on a nice victory.
TGL
15.
champion.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
TGL.
yes.
That was electric, by the way. Billy Ho pouring that thing in. I mean, what a putt, though.
It was. It was.
It was a fun watch. I was tuned in.
We
I'm upset
we
TGL's
have triple
over.
double plays.
Yeah, I
Oh,
do.
Yes,
everyone does. Wow.
we have a new leader. Do we have more anything else on Valspar before we go there? Good week.
Um,
I enjoyed it.
one last comment. I think Valero, for it to be productive, he's got to, I think you kind of said it in your tweet, Dan, he's got to put it a little bit more together and actually a green box.
I agree.
Because this week was productive, but there wasn't a green box. You got to start, I mean, for points purposes and just, you can't win a golf tournament if you're not up on the leaderboard. So the bars
Well
because
said.
we expect the approach play to at least be good next week at half a shot per round, as Bob said. So if that's there, the driver should be better, short game should be better, and then the putter, who the hell knows? But yeah,
And to just really quickly to kind of rally off that point, just throughout his career, I mean, I know it was really good in the early stages of his career. All the time approach, it was very consistent. But in the more kind of recent few years, like his wins come when the approach play it begins to kind of percolate. Like that's just the trends that bettors notice is like, oh, here comes Spieth's irons, here comes contention. Like his game goes, the results go as the approach game goes. And I think you could say that for anybody, but I think it's especially true for him. Um, and so if he is at the half a shot per round in Valero, like that floor for the result is pretty high. one would presume, unless the putter is, well, quiet and the short game is as bad as it was here last year. Um, but anyway, I will digress, or I could go for hours on what I enjoyed about this past week. So, what I did not enjoy was Bob regaining the lead in triple double, thanks to
No.
Jacob Bridgestone.
Bridgman.
Bridgeman. Yes, sorry, Bridge. I was thinking of the
Jacob
Bridgestone.
Bridgman kind of needed to do just a little bit better for me. Would have appreciated, but yeah, thank you, Mr. Bridgman.
You're a bit of a
Um,
heater, Bob. That's 4 straight weeks with over 600 grand entering the
I
bank
say
account.
I was doubted at the start. I was doubted. The haters were flooding into my DMs, hundreds of requests, and I felt like I had to prove a point.
Yeah,
And I
silenced
will
them
be
with a
doing that again
wig.
this week. Be doing that again this week. Elise struggling currently.
Yes. Elise is bringing up the rear. It's been a while since she's probably looked at the document. But
Yes, yes, it's on her.
yeah, I was gonna say that's not my problem.
I guess as the leader, I'll lead it off.
Go ahead.
Won't be giving any explanations because I feel like as the leader, my numbers speak for themselves.
Are these all off of Elise's card?
Alicia's card isn't out yet. She actually
Oh,
hasn't
perfect.
talked about it. But I will be going with Minwoo, Pot, and Jake Knapp. I think I'm all getting them at solid parts of their season. And that's the only explanation I'll give.
Yeah. Bombers, soft golf course.
Good
Could add
short
up.
game, besides Pot, but
Yeah. Pot. He could Pot just like pops, for now in his
well,
career.
he's popped once.
Yeah, but like that's what he'll do, I think, for the next year
Yeah.
or two before he finds a little bit of consistency, if he finds consistency. It's a good course fit
I was
for
gonna
him.
say, before he finds his DP World Tour card.
Yeah. Well, you better hope so. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
There are a lot more courses over there that set up for him too. Like they have those weird like 6,300-yard tournaments.
Yeah. Just drives the green on
Just
every
drives every
hole.
green.
That'd be funny. I like those picks though. Could see a good week out of one of those cats. But I'll go next, I suppose. And I will
Yeah.
I will give brief explanations here. Um, so I've got well, and I got signed out. Okay. So we've got
Want to
Aaron
go?
Rye,
I got it.
who data golf loves this week. Soft golf course, potential for rain. The two gloves will be on per usual.
He is
And I
very
expect
good at knowing he won't even have to stray from his come on with the camera.
yes.
Might
Thank
be
you
time
for
for a new one.
that. Thank you for the beautiful view.
And to G we
You're
go.
watching on YouTube. And up comes the G. Stands for help. No, but Aaron Rye just makes a lot of sense this week. It's obviously McIlroy and Scheffler, the two main folks here, but um and then
Would
thought about
recommend all
Theegala.
tailors of my picks to use the without Scheffler and McIlroy markets.
Oh, there you go. That's Bob's tip of the week right there. And now it's funny because I can't see them and I actually forgot who I picked. Jordan, do you have the sheet up in front of you?
I
Yeah.
got
Do
him
you want?
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just read me my other two guys and I'll tell you why I picked them.
Michael
Well,
Kim.
you have Bridgman, who you won't get. He won't
He
play
does
as
not
well as
have
he did for
Bridgman. He
me.
does not have Bridgman.
Oh,
I do not have
oops.
Bridgman.
Michael Kim and
Oops.
Stefan Jaeger.
Michael Kim,
Yes.
yes. M. Kim played a lot of golf. He's playing well. Like just doing the right things. I think big high draw will play around this place, and I don't know. Just I feel like I got to use him before his form bubble kind of pops here, and um, I think he's kind of
M.
due
Kim
for
plays solid golf.
Sorry.
M. Kim plays solid golf.
Yeah, he does. He'll, get a good paycheck for me this week, I hope. Um, and then the Jaeger bomb. I thought about picking him last week. He didn't have the good wave. I don't think he played particularly well. Obviously, the defending champ kind of just seems due. Why not give it another run? He's actually playing some decent golf. I thought about JJ Spawn as well, but I think that player's hangover might be uh, looming large there. So, um, those are my three picks. I need to get back on track. I'm not far out of the lead, but it's I could use a good week. Last week was not great out of Mac Messner and Rico Hoey and the gang. So
Okay.
we'll get better this week.
I'll give two compliments first before I give mine. I love the Minwoo pick, Bob. And I love the Michael Kim pick. I was debating Michael Kim. The problem with
You want
him
to know
for
who else is very
me,
high on Minwoo?
whom?
Schleber.
No,
Ooh, interesting.
friend of the pod.
Schleber could be the world's hottest gambler right now. Come
Congrats to Mr.
on
Schlaver.
with the G.
Yeah, Minwoo I love. I love Michael Kim too. It's just he's been playing so much golf.
Yeah.
But he knows
That's
he needs
my
a good
only
finish to get.
concern.
Yeah. He needs a good finish to get into the Masters this week though.
Right.
So I think he knows that. Um yeah. So my three picks, I am going Aaron Rye as well, following Dan. My second Aaron Rye use, which kind of stinks because he's playing really good golf. But he played well for me at the Players. T14, he was kind of my pick there, like my favorite pick, and he
You did
T14'd.
love him there.
I did, and he played well. He played well. I mean,
Fair
it's
enough.
tough for, he's not a top shelf name, but he played well. So going him again this week. I'm also going Jacob Bridgman back-to-back weeks. He's playing good golf. I think it's a good course fit for him. So we'll roll him out there again. I think it's not the first time I've kind of done that where I've used a guy back-to-back weeks. But yeah, I go on Bridgman, and then I'm rounding it out with Davis Thompson. Uh, I don't know if he's my favorite pick of the three this week, but his name just keeps popping up on, leaderboards, and when you do that, you're kind of due to, maybe win one. I actually say that, and he's kind of not. I mean, he's got a T13 to T10, and besides that, he hasn't.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen his
So
name though.
yeah, he's played. I mean, those are good finishes at two big boy events, so I'll give him that. He just, yeah, getting an approach in four straight, needs the putter to cooperate, but playing good golf. Obviously, none of the three of us can go Scheffler or Rory this week because just the money wise, it's not good for the triple double. But I think Scheffler wins this week. I mean, this course fits him to an absolute T. So yeah, I think he gets into the winner's circle in his last start before the Masters. Real bold, but that's kind of my actual real prediction of who I think wins this week.
It's a fair take. Do you think
It's fair.
is Rory playing Valero or no?
No.
Okay. So next week it'll be Spieth and Fowler.
It's a good field next week. Ludwig's playing.
I
Ludwig.
had a friend who doesn't watch golf much text me yesterday and ask me if I liked his pick of Fowler to win the Masters. To break some unfortunate news.
Sad news to break. No, it's a good field next week, Dan, actually. You got Ludwig, Berger, Sam Burns, Cantlay, Keegan Bradley, Corey Connors, Fleetwood, Russell Henley, Spieth,
Chuck Hoffman in the
obviously.
field.
Chuck Hoffman is not. Yes, he is. Yes.
I was
Chuck
gonna
Hoffman
say
in the
should
field.
be.
Raises the field
That's a
strength
scary.
quite a bit.
It's a very
Yeah.
Valero-esque field, I feel like.
Morikawa as well.
Oh,
I
that's
feel
cool.
like most dudes are playing either this week or next week. Well, JT's not.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of guys were playing either this week or next week.
JT needs to rest after his
Yeah, he just won.
69 hole
Joke.
victory at the Valspar. Yeah, that was a
Minus
finish.
4 digits. 4 digits to win the golf tournament. God help us if
I mean,
Spieth is ever minus 4 digits to win the golf tournament and does
and
not.
loses. Yeah, that would be. I mean, that happened once, probably. You think back to the time that shall not be named.
I don't know. Minus 1,000 with 8 holes to play.
I mean, 2016 Masters.
Ugh, don't say it.
I don't even know if he was. I would
Oh,
think
he
he'd be
had
more.
to have been. He was up
'Cause-
5 shots. Best
Up
player in the
five
world at
with
the time.
up 5 with 9, and the closest is Willett.
Oh, yeah. You're right. He was the best player in the world at the time. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Um,
Any other times it's happened where he hasn't closed it out? Probably not.
yeah,
Nothing that comes to mind, at least.
no, but hopefully, well, yeah, I'm gonna say hopefully we get a chance to close out the Valero. But we'll see. We'll get there when we get there. Enjoy this weekend. Kind of reset, get some work in with Cam.
Yes.
Him and I have a lesson on Saturday. Work on our podcasting skills. So get out the
Yes.
video trainer and get to work. Of course, I
Yes.
kid. But this is a classic end of the podcast.
Left speechless, honestly.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Um,
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the Oaks course.
I'm looking forward to the week off, personally. Weekend stress free.
Yeah, that'll also be nice.
Sit back, watch a fun golf course without any need to let days be ruined. So, but we will be back. Probably, I don't know. I'll have to look at my schedule as to what day works best for me next week.
It'll be out on probably Wednesday morning. Probably.
Probably.
There's no
Most
recap next week, so
Yeah.
True.
So probably that. But till then, is there anything else to add?
no. Have a
Go blue.
yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the
Congrats to
NCAA. Mm.
both of your squads still
Well,
thrusting along.
Maryland might be losing their head coach, so we might have
It
some
would be a
issues.
poor move for Maryland.
It'd be very on brand for Maryland, though. Very on brand.
Where is he projected to go?
Nova.
Oh,
Well, not projected, but it's like I mean, I've just been scrolling Twitter a little bit as we've been
Yes.
potting, and
Where
there's
the
some-
insider carp comes out.
Well, I mean, it's just some Maryland sources that seem to be a little upset tonight. So we'll see.
I'd be upset as well.
Yeah, best team in like 10 plus years, and you're gonna lose your coach. But on brand for Maryland, as I said, nothing new.
But that's all I have. Hope everyone watching, listening
Enjoyed.
has a fantastic weekend off from Spieth stress. And yeah, I guess we'll see you all next in about a week's time.
See you in a week.
Peace.